Alesha was a delightful little peanut and the daughter of Georgina Lochrain and Robert MacPhail. She had a sister named Courtney who was 2 years younger and likely a half-sister. At the time of her murder, she was living with her mum and sister in Airdrie, North Lancashire. Georgina and Robert had separated when Alesha was only 3 months old, and she spent every other weekend with her dad and his girlfriend Tony McLaughlin at her paternal grandparents' house in Rothesay on the Isle of Bute. Alesha was described by her teachers at Chapelside School, where she was to start what in Scotland is called Primary 2 in the fall, which is the equivalent of Year 1 in England or Grade 1 here, as smiley and happy who loved being at school. She enjoyed writing and reading, gymnastics, and baking cakes. On the night of July 1st, 2018, she was staying at her grandparents, Callum and Angela's, along with her dad and his girlfriend for what was to be a 3-week stay of her summer holidays. Alesha at the time was 6 years old. That night, Angela put her to bed around 10 or so and let her fall asleep watching a Peppa Pig DVD. Tony checked in on her at 11 and found her to be asleep. The next morning, her grandpa Callum got up at 6 a.m. to go to work. When he looked in Alicia's room, he found that she wasn't there and started to search the house and awoke Angela and the rest of the family. After determining she wasn't anywhere in the house, they panicked Angela, phoned 999 at 6:23 a.m. Now, one thing you should know is that the town of Rothesay is only about 7,000 people, so many residents leave their doors unlocked even at night. It's not an unusual thing or even considered irresponsible. I mean, it's a town where pretty much everyone knows everyone else. So the police are called and the family searches around the property and everywhere they can think of that she might have wandered off to. Angela even posts on Facebook for help in the community to look for her. And the police came in with a helicopter to scour the area, and a Coast Guard volunteer searched the shoreline near their property. George Williams, who lived nearby, saw Angela's Facebook post and started his own search. At 8:54 a.m., he called police with the sad news that he had found Alesha's nude and lifeless body in a wooded area on the property of an old abandoned hotel that was about a 15-minute walk from the MacPhail's house.
What I can say is that I confirm now that the body recovered at Ardbeg Road is that of 6-year-old Alesha MacPhail, who was reported missing around about 6:25 on Monday the 2nd of July. What I can say now is that we are treating her death as a murder investigation.
Georgina, Alesha's mother, learned of the news on Facebook. She was about an hour's drive away in Airdrie. Little Alesha's body was taken away to have an autopsy done, but it was clear that she had been murdered. And for a town the size of Rothesay, they were pretty sure it had to be a local resident, putting the whole town on high alert. The police encouraged anyone that was involved in the search to let police know what areas they had searched and what, if anything, they had found of interest. Jeanette Campbell, who lived a couple of blocks from the MacPhail house with her mother and 16-year-old son Aaron, took a look at the CCTV footage from the cameras that she had installed at the front and back of her house due to her mom's dementia to see if she could see anything that might help the investigation, like hopefully the girl had wandered by her yard. Her son Aaron had thrown a party at the house the night before to celebrate the end of the school year with about 15 people who all left right around midnight. She had argued with Aaron after the party because some furniture had gotten damaged, and when her daughter got home around then, she assumed everyone had gone to bed and assumed that Aaron had as well because he had been drinking. But the footage showed him coming and going a few times between 2 and 4 a.m. So Jeanette asked him about it, and he said that he was looking for his phone and admitted that he had gone out to look to purchase some weed. She asked if him or his friends knew anything about Alesha, and he said no. Now, for some reason, according to a blog called Chilling Crimes, Jeanette was suspicious enough that she told him that anyone involved in Alesha's murder would have left behind DNA and would get caught. And Aaron, who we later learned didn't know what DNA even was, said that he never saw the girl. Jeanette, satisfied with his answer, turned the footage over to the police with Aaron's explanation of why he had been out that night. Aaron Campbell was brought in for questioning by Detective Constable Gavin McKellar and Detective Sergeant Stephen Hendry, and he was cooperative and didn't appear concerned or worried and wasn't nervous or anything. He said that he had been buying weed and looking for his phone, so he was released. The autopsy on Alesha was completed very quickly, and Dr. John Williams revealed the cause of death to be significant and forceful pressure to her neck and face. And he had written in his report, the pattern of injuries to the face and neck is indicative of inflicted trauma and is consistent with manual gripping of the neck and face with a hand, and the injuries around the mouth would be consistent with external covering of the mouth and nose. Examination of the spinal cord revealed hemorrhage involving the intervertebral discs. These findings are consistent with forceful movement of the head and neck, for example, through shaking. There were severe injuries to the genitals, including marked, deep, extensive lacerations to the vagina and anus. These injuries are consistent with severe, forceful, inflicted penetration of the vagina and anus. The presence of associated bruising and hemorrhage confirming at least some of the injuries had been inflicted in life, as in when she was still alive. There were 117 injuries reported in all. Some of them were due to vegetation in the area where she was found, but a lot of them were found to have been inflicted while little Alesha, the delightful peanut, was still alive. Dr. Williams later testified in court that he had never seen injuries of this kind inflicted on the genital area and referred to her injuries as catastrophic. Of course, anyone that was questioned about Alesha's murder had submitted a DNA sample. Aaron, not understanding what DNA even was happy to provide a sample to police. And of course, his DNA, including semen, was matched to 14 samples found on Alesha's body. A beautiful funeral was held for Alesha, complete with a pink coffin carried from the church to the gravesite in a horse and white carriage fitting of any 6-year-old little girl, with the mournful sounds of bagpipes in the air. So on July 4th, 2018, Aaron Campbell was charged with murder and rape and proceeded to answer any and all questions with no comment. So who is this Aaron Campbell character, and why on earth would a 16-year-old murder and rape a 6-year-old little girl? Aaron was known around town as a smart kid and quite popular. He played sports, he was a video gamer, and had aspirations to be a YouTuber. He particularly liked the Slender Man series. Slender Man is a fictional character that originally started on the internet by a site called Creepypasta. He's depicted as a very tall, thin, human-like figure with a face with no features who apparently stalks and terrorizes children.
Yo, what's up guys? It's Aaron Campbell here, again, for another video. So I just wanted to say, thank you guys very much for 50 subscribers. Even though I'm nearly at 80, 50 is just a better, like it's a rounder number. So this video is going to be 50 subscriber special. But either way, thank you guys very, very much. So this is just a trampoline video, you know, without like footless tricks, you know, like knees, back, just cool tricks that you don't use your feet with. And so yeah, thank you guys very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, and if you want to see more, please subscribe. I really appreciate all the subscribers and all the support. Thank you guys very much, and roll the clip.
But here's some stuff about Aaron that came out later that really pissed off Alesha's entire family. According to a report called a Learning Summary Case Review done by the Bute Child Protection Committee, reported that Aaron had been referred twice before the murder of Alesha to the Youth Justice Service and was actively being monitored by both Child Protection Committee and his school, but according to the report had not yet reached their threshold for sexual harms behavior protocol. In a statement to the media after the report was leaked, they said, "We went beyond what is required from an initial review and carried out a thorough multi-agency assessment of what happened. This robust process has evidence that a crime of this nature could not have been foreseen." And that's interesting because friends of Aaron said that he had a dark side and that he had been witnessed killing and skinning cats in the past. Aaron didn't know Alesha and had never seen her before, but he did know Tony and Robert, her dad and girlfriend. On December 10th, 2018, Aaron entered a not guilty plea and the trial started in February of 2019 in Glasgow's High Court. Ian McSporran for the prosecution and Brian McConaughey for the defense, and was presided over by Justice Lord Matthews. As to evidence against Aaron, the jury was shown the CCTV footage of his own house showing him leaving the house around 1:54 a.m. on July 2nd and returning at 3:35 then leaving and returning again for 2 short periods before 4:07 a.m. They had additional CCTV footage from some other people that showed an individual matching Aaron's description walking along the shoreline at 2:25 and 2:26, appearing to carry something in his arms. Pathologist Dr. John Williams testified that Alesha's feet were clean and uninjured, consistent with her being carried. Jeanette Campbell, Aaron's mother, testified that clothing articles that were found on the beach, such as a fleece jacket, jogging pants, boxer shorts, a t-shirt, as well as a kitchen knife, all belonged to her son, and the knife had come from her kitchen. Fibers from the jogging pants were found on Alesha's pajamas. Stuart Bailey, a DNA expert, testified that DNA that was a match to Aaron was found on the clothing. A sample taken from Alesha's neck area had a 1,000,000,000 to 1 chance of coming from anyone but Aaron. DNA matches were also found on her face, 14 parts of her body, and some of her clothing. An internet and cyber expert told the jury that on July 3rd, Aaron Googled, "How do police find DNA?" and went to a website titled Collecting DNA Evidence on his phone. A 16-year-old girl whose identity can't be revealed testified that just hours after Alesha was found, Aaron was on Snapchat and sent a video of his reflection in a mirror to a group of 25 people with the words, "Found the guy who has done it." Brian McConaughey and Aaron's defense team disagreed with the prosecution's assertion that Aaron had kidnapped Alesha and raped and murdered her, and what had actually happened was that he had spent those early hours on July 2nd looking to purchase some weed and looking for his phone that he had misplaced. 2 of his friends testified that they had received messages from Aaron regarding the weed, but had not met with him that night. Aaron logged what is called a special defense of incrimination, where he stated that Tony McLaughlin, who Aaron knew and had purchased weed from in the past and had even had a brief sexual relationship with, was the one actually responsible for Alesha's death. He testified on his own behalf that him and Tony had sex in the MacPhail's garage that night and said that Tony murdered Alesha out of jealousy for the attention that she got from her father and used the condom that he had used to plant his semen on Alesha. But Angela King testified that Alesha and Tony had a great relationship. Aaron managed to stay on the stand and face questions about the overwhelming evidence against him for a full 2 hours, remaining very composed, unfazed, and articulate, according to a journalist for The Guardian who attended the trial. After a 9-day trial, the jury deliberated for 3 hours before finding Aaron Campbell guilty on February 21st. Justice Lord Matthews said the evidence against Aaron was overwhelming and that he had committed some of the most wicked and evil crimes this court has ever heard of in decades of dealing with depravity. Aaron was completely emotionless. Because Aaron was under 18 at the time of the crime, originally he had not been able to be named. But after his conviction, some media peeps made the legal argument for him to be named as it was in the public interest, and Justice Lord Matthews reversed the naming restriction, which was a first in Scottish history. In between his conviction and the sentencing hearing, Aaron was assessed by a forensic psychologist named Dr. Gary McPherson, and his report revealed that Aaron had actually confessed to him about the crime during the assessment. At the sentencing hearing, the judge had a few words for Aaron and discussed what was found in his report.
Aaron Thomas Campbell, you were found guilty of the abduction, rape and murder of Alesha MacPhail, a 6-year-old child. Merely stating that fact is horrific enough, but the circumstances surrounding these vile crimes and the manner of their commission have quite rightly aroused revulsion and disbelief that these sorts of things could happen. Alesha had just arrived on Bute to spend a holiday with her father and grandparents and had gone to bed apparently safe in her own room. No doubt she was looking forward to what the next few weeks had in store. Her father and his parents would have enjoyed every minute of it, while her mother and her family would have been counting down the days till they saw her smiling face again. Meanwhile, you attended a party at your own home, consumed alcohol, and then, on your account, to which I will return, went off in search of cannabis. You went into the house and then her bedroom. You removed her from there and took her to a secluded spot where you violated and murdered her in the most brutal fashion. The details of that were revealed in the evidence, and I do not intend to go over them again. It is difficult to imagine the distress which her family must have suffered, not only when she went missing, but when the awful news came in that she had been found dead. That distress can only have been intensified, if that was possible, by their finding out the extent of what you did to her, not only in the weeks and months immediately afterwards, but in the course of the trial. I have read statements by her parents and grandparents in which they have tried to express their loss and the emptiness which greets them every day. Just as I know that no sentence which I can pass will alleviate their anguish, so I know that mere words are poor reflections of it. The effect on the island community was profound. Many of them rallied round to help in the search, and the effect on those who saw Alesha in the woods will be long-lasting. I have never before seen a police officer almost break down in the witness box, so affected was he by the sight. The contrast between them and you could not be more vivid. Your attitude was clearly demonstrated by the evidence that you posted an image of yourself in a mirror while making a joke that you had found where the murderer was hiding. The arrogance and callousness of that is breathtaking. Thanks to the dedication of the police and forensic scientists, ably assisted by members of the public, such as those who came forward when they found articles of your clothing on the shore, you were eventually brought to justice. Despite the overwhelming evidence against you, you did not plead guilty but elected to go to trial. That was your right, and I do not increase your sentence because of it. However, it is symptomatic of your staggering lack of remorse. Not once during the trial did I detect a flicker of emotion from you, and that was also the experience of the professionals who interviewed you for the purposes of the reports, to which I will turn shortly. Your defence was one of incrimination of a young woman, Toni Louise McLaughlin, and you gave evidence in support of it. It was a cruel travesty of the truth, which was understandably reported widely in the media and left her open to suspicion at the very least, and quite possibly hatred, all of which was due to your perverted machinations. I am very grateful to Mr McConaughey, who today made it clear that she was completely innocent. Mr McConaughey has said all that could be said on your behalf, entirely in keeping with the exemplary way the trial was conducted on both sides of the bar. All matters of fact which could reasonably be agreed were agreed, and the issues were well focused and laid before the jury. As I said to the jury after they returned their verdict, counsel do not make up defences, but present the case on the basis of their instructions. It is obvious what your instructions were, and your evidence was entirely in keeping with them, albeit it was a tissue of lies. It does not go too far, therefore, when I say that I was shocked when I saw the contents of the Criminal Justice Social Work Report and the report from Dr McPherson, the consultant forensic clinical psychologist. Each of these reports contains clear admissions by you of your guilt. Not only that, and this is a terrible thing to say of one so young, but they paint a clear picture of a cold, callous, calculating, remorseless and dangerous individual. I do not intend to go into every detail of the reports or of your admissions, since much of it would, I think, be distressing, and much of it merely confirms some of the evidence which was led. However, I think it right that the public, and more particularly her family, be given some flavour of the contents. Dr McPherson noted that you presented your account in a matter-of-fact manner, notable for the absence of any emotions. He recorded that you told him that in the 12 months prior to the murder, you entertained thoughts of doing something excessive, including rape. Your account, in brief, was that you had been drinking but wanted cannabis and decided to break into the house to get some. You took a kitchen knife because you wanted to protect yourself, but having gained entry, you left the house and disposed of it. You returned to the house and entered Alesha's bedroom. Amongst other things, Dr McPherson records that you told him that you had consumed 1.5 bottles of wine between 8 o'clock and 8:30, but that you did not feel intoxicated, although you told the social worker that you still felt the effects of it. You were not under the influence of any illicit substances. He records that when you saw Alesha, your reaction, according to you, was as follows, and I quote, "A moment of opportunity. At any other time in life, murder wouldn't have been the conclusion. If I was a year younger, I don't think I would have done it. All I thought about was killing her once I saw her. You told both Dr. McPherson and the social worker in some detail what you did. You said that Alesha was drowsy and became a bit more awake when you went outside. At one point, she asked who you were and where you were going. You said you were a friend of her father's and that you were taking her home. You gave her your top because she was cold. I will not go into the horrific and cold-blooded details of what you said you did to her, but you explained that after you murdered Alesha, you threw your blood-stained clothing into the sea, had a shower, and then went back where you left her to retrieve your phone. Dr. McPherson reports that you told him that over the next few days you were totally unconcerned, other than to be mildly amused that the police had not arrested you. Two other aspects of his report are worth mentioning. The first is that you told him that at points during the trial it took everything to stop you laughing and you had to zip your mouth. The second is that you volunteered that you were quite satisfied with the murder. According to all of the reports, you are not suffering from any mental health disorder, and indeed you are not suffering from any syndrome or disorder of any kind. On the other hand, you are completely lacking in victim empathy, the social worker noting your cold, calculating manner. The only sentence I can impose on you is detention without limit of time. In addition, you will be subject to the notification provisions of the Sexual Offences Act 2003 for an indefinite period. However, I also have to specify a period which must pass before you can apply for release on parole. Whether you will ever be released will be for others to determine. But as matters stand, a lot of work will have to be done to change you before that could be considered. It may even be impossible. The period I select is known as the punishment part of the sentence, and its purpose is to satisfy the requirements of retribution and deterrence. The parole board will deal in due course with the protection of the public. I have taken account of the circumstances of the offences, the contents of the reports, and everything said on your behalf. I am conscious that you are a child. In sentencing children, it has to be borne in mind that they are not yet fully rounded, mature human beings. A child's best interests are a primary consideration, and the desirability of the child's reintegration into society must also be taken into account. However, the weight to be given to the various sentencing considerations will depend on a number of factors, including the age of the child and all the circumstances of the case. The nature of these appalling offences and what I have read in the reports make it clear to me that reintegration and rehabilitation, while these are important considerations, are remote possibilities, and neither your best interests nor anyone else's will be served by a speedy return to the community. Nonetheless, the punishment part will not be as long as it would have been had you been an adult. Your sentence will run from 6 July 2018. You will be detained without limit of time, and I fixed the punishment part at 27 years. That is all.
On September 10th, 2019, Aaron Campbell actually successfully appealed his sentence, reducing the minimum term from 27 years to 24 years, as 27 he felt was excessive and cruel. And the three judges on the appeal panel agreed that the original sentence had been excessive for his age, but they did not dispute Lord Matthew's suggestion that the appellate might never be released. Aaron was housed at the HM Young Offenders Institution in Polmont, but was moved to an adult prison when he turned 21, which I believe was in 2022. He's going to be eligible to apply for parole when he's 40.